Hey everyone, the numbers are in for Panama City Beach real estate for March of 2024. I'm Craig Duran with the Duran Group over at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. There's a lot to talk about with the real estate market, especially with where prices are headed. So this video, I want to give everyone a general overview of the condo market and the detached single family market. I'm also taking the time to go through about 14 or 15 different neighborhoods and condo projects individually. If you want to look at any of those, look in the description below and you'll see a link to each one of those. It's going to be a much shorter video, but a lot of what the information in this one is going to apply to a lot of those individually, but I'm going to get very, very specific because neighborhood to neighborhood, condo project to condo project, there's some interesting differences happening. So 30,000 foot view first. So we talk about this months of inventory number, and I wanted to give you a little bit of a fresh perspective on that before I go through the condo market and the detached single family home market. Remember, I know if you've seen any of these videos before, you've heard me say this. I probably fall asleep saying this sometimes, but 5 or 6 months of inventory in real estate represents a neutral, balanced market. And I found a visual, actually it was on a presentation by a real estate guy named Sharon Shavasa. I probably am butchering his last name, but he has another visual that I think really helps explain what I talk about a lot, but I don't show it to you visually. So check this out. We talk about this chart all the time, months of inventory, and try to assess where we are with this 5 or 6 months number. But take a look at this for just a second. In this chart, these numbers over here are effectively our months of inventory numbers. So if this is 5 or 6 months of inventory, what this chart is telling us that when you're in this range, you're going to see about 0 to 5% appreciation in real estate. When you're at 5 months, you're going to see about 5% appreciation, prices moving up. When this number gets lower, like we've talked about the last couple of years, you can really see some incredible appreciation. And the opposite happens, and this is what I wanted to stress, when you start to get into a buyer's market, 6, 7, 8 months of inventory, this is where you start to see prices moving down. Now, these actual percentages aren't exact numbers for every piece of real estate in every market, but it gives you an idea just how dramatic it can be that if you go from 5 or 6 months of inventory where you see normally slight, steady appreciation in real estate, when you dip down a lot lower, you get dramatic appreciation. That's exactly what we saw in the housing market from 2020, middle of 2020 through middle of 2022. I want to show you today, and remember what can happen potentially when you get into numbers that are higher than 5 or 6 months of inventory. In this example, 9, 10 months of inventory, and you're talking about some pretty serious depreciation in a real estate market. Again, those numbers aren't exact, but it represents very real things that happen in these months of inventory numbers. So let's start with the condo market. The first one we're going to look at is the overall condo market, what's been happening recently. Early last year, again, we were at a very hot seller's market, 1.48 months of inventory, 2 months of inventory, 2.13 months of inventory, March, April, May of last year. We've steadily been climbing since August. We peaked in February at 13.4 months of inventory. We recovered slightly last month, not even a month of inventory. We're still at 12.64 months of inventory. Let's revisit this. That's off the chart. 12, 13 months of inventory is off the chart, so to speak, in this example. And let me give you a couple more things to think about. I'm going to go into more depth on this with pricing in these other individual videos. So if you want to take the time to watch those are going to be much shorter. But a couple stories I've heard just in the last week. Units in Seychelles, 1-bedroom units had been selling in around the 450s. 2 have closed recently at 420. There's another offer on the table for one at 420. Units in Long Beach, 2-bedroom units in Long Beach had been selling between 595 and 620. There was a closing last week for 512. There's also an investor offering 4 2-bedroom units for $2 million total, so $500,000 per unit. the last selling price we had was $595. Emerald Beach Resort, 2-bedroom units had been selling recently as high as $550, $560, $570, even maybe 6-8 months ago. There was a price reduction yesterday to $495. I was working with a buyer that made an offer on a 1-bedroom condo in Majestic with a parking space for $450,000 that was rejected about 6 weeks ago. I saw that unit close yesterday for $412,000. Units in Boardwalk, I think these are 2-bedroom units. The most recent sale is $615,000, and there's a contract that's been negotiated for $560,000. So again, not and I think there's certainly things to pay attention to here on both sides. If you're buying, this really nice opportunity right now. When you're starting to see things like that, be paying attention. Sellers, I can't impress upon you enough, these things are happening already. I know we're in the spring market. There's generally a lot more optimism, but this is what I'm really cautioning sellers about, especially if you want to sell in the short term. If you believe, like I do, in Panama City Beach long term, all the things that are coming, like we've been talking about, 87-acre hospital, Topgolf, Dolly Parton investment, all the infrastructure improvements, new neighborhoods. I'm very, very bullish long term on the real estate market. But while we're talking condos, remember, a lot of assessments are driving expenses up, insurance costs are driving expenses up, and rental revenues are down. So cash flow has been dramatically affected. We've got to be paying attention to the condo market. So again, condo market overall is hovering at 13, 12 months of inventory. I like to break it down a couple different ways. The newer buildings, so newer than 2005, similar story has happened. January, we were at 6.4 months of inventory. It's up to 12.63. It's actually increased in March up to 14.3. So that market is even more sluggish last month. If you look at the units built before 2005, this is pretty interesting. Market was pretty hot through about August of last year, started to move up and peaked at 14 again, 14.4, 14.17. It improved slightly last month to 11.46. But remember, still, we're talking about numbers far and above 5 or 6 months of inventory. We're very much in a healthy buyer market. Buyers should be licking their chops right now. Sellers, pay attention. The longer we stay there, the more pressure is going to be on more of these price decreases that we're already seeing. Before I go into detached single family, last little asterisk I would put by the condo market, and I think you heard me say this in the last video, March can be a little bit slower for condo sales because of people traveling for their own spring breaks. In town can be a little bit busy week to week with spring break. Units are rented, and so we can write fewer contracts. I'm hopeful in the last 7 to 10 days, 10 to 12 days. I'm recording this on what's today, the 3rd of April. In the last 7 to 10 days, I've been scheduling more showing appointments than I have really most of the year. So optimistically, maybe the light switches come on, the buyers are coming out, hey, it's time to buy beach real estate. But we're really going to have to key in on these numbers to find out. Again, if you want to see some specific condo projects and information on this, I'm going to put a bunch of little 3 to 5 minute videos together for you and really delve into pricing of what's happening building by building. So those, again, look down below. Okay, let's look at detached single family market. Across the beach, similar story, but we've only moved up from 1.85, 2.58. We're still at only 5.23 to 6.3. We were a little higher in January at 8, but that again is because of basically coming off of activity in December, which can be a slow month. So at the moment, I would say we're still in a pretty healthy market here. If you look at this year over year, we're slowing down generally. I think a lot of what's going on in the detached single family market will hinge on interest rates. There's a lot of people hopeful about that at the end of last year, especially the Fed was talking about maybe 4 interest rate decreases this year. Now that's changed. So we're still hopeful here. This is still a somewhat balanced market. We can take this the same way as condos and look at some different submarkets. Instead of doing it now by year built, let's look at price points. So if we're looking between 250,000 and 500,000 on the beach, we've gone from, again, a hot market last year, about August at 3.36, and we've increased to 10 to 12 months of inventory from 250 to 500,000. So pretty healthy buyer market there, similar to what we're talking about in the condo market. And again, if you think about it, it makes a lot of sense because this price point, 250,000 to 500,000, is probably very much affected by what's going on with interest rates. If we look at pricing between $500,000 and $1 million, again, similar trend lines. We were very, very hot last year. Around August, we started to move up. We're at 10.8, 12.95 in that price point. So buyer market territory, if you look at it that way by price point. When you look at over $1 million, it's even more dramatic. We go from 3.5 months of inventory in December. We're up to 14.5, 16.3 in that market. Not terribly surprising. A more expensive market, there are probably fewer buyers that can afford to get over $1 million. That market is a lot slower. The Gulfront market, this one's been very interesting. Just looking at Gulfront detached single family, now you're looking at and assessing there's much less data to really digest here. A lot of this was driven last year by a number of sales that happened in Margaritaville cottages, but not just there. We were still at 3 months of inventory as late as June, 5 months of inventory in July, which is very, very good for Gulfront when you're talking about the price point. We moved up to 11 months of inventory, 12 months of inventory in October, November. It dipped down a little bit, mainly because of one sale that happened in December. But look at what's happened since then. No sales in January to even mark something on this chart. No sales in February. Looks like one sale, I think it was for 6.2 million, 6.25 million. That's showing us now we've ballooned to 18 months of inventory in that market. So again, this is a very general overview of the market. If you're really trying to get a sense of a neighborhood or a condo project or a particular type of real estate that you want to buy, I think it's important to understand and do this analysis first. It's very simple and easy for me to do. You just put in some basic search criteria. And then you also have to look at the other things that are affecting that neighborhood or that condo project. In condos, for example, have they gone through their structural integrity reserve study yet? Have they had their milestone inspection report yet? Are there any other assessments coming? Neighborhoods, same thing. Is there anything happening with the HOA that we need to know about? Is there anything happening with infrastructure updates around that area that may help or hurt that neighborhood? And the same thing when we're selling and we're talking about trying to price something to sell. What market are we in? What's happening with the market? Are we in a very steady market? Are we in a slower market? Is the market slowing? Remember, I think I'll show you this one last time. This is really important to understand. Again, these aren't exact percentages, but it gives you the idea that the lower the months of inventory number, the more price appreciation we generally see. The slower or the higher the months of inventory number, the slower the market. We very much have, when I keep talking about pressure on pricing, this is what I'm talking about. There's more to it than that. That's the overview, but I hope that gives you some idea of what's happening in the overall market. If you have any questions about this stuff, give me a call, shoot me a text, 850-290-0417. Again, if you want to see some specifics on pricing, like what's happening with actual sales and numbers, sales prices, click below and you can see all these different communities. If you would like that information on your community and don't see it listed, let me know. I'm happy to put this together for you so you can get some sense of what's happening where you live or where you own real estate. And again, if you're thinking about buying, this is part of the process of, okay, let's figure out, if we really like something, do we need to offer over full price? Well, you can see from these numbers in this environment, probably not. This is probably the time for buyers to get a little bit better deal. So I hope this helps. I'll be back the end of next quarter for an overview like this, and including these specific communities. I'll be back next month to give you an update on what's going on in the spring market. Thanks for watching.